dun dun dun, 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 testing, 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 testing. 1 2, testing 1 2, testing 1 2 3, 1 2 3 4 5. Hello, hey there, hey there. It's 8 in the frickin' morning. Ah! Why am I doing it at 8 in the morning? Is because I woke up at I woke up at like 11 at night. I've got no choice. It's either that or I spend the rest of my life trying to readjust my sleep schedule and failing. So, here we are. We are here at the internet, online, live, with YouTube. Help us all. God help us all. It's spleen squeezings. Ah! 1 2 3 4. Okay, I'm turning this way down, and I'm turning this way up, and I'm trying to balance things here, and you see, I have no idea really. I could fiddle with this forever and not get the audio right. Hey, guess what I found?
Shut up!
Nobody asked you. Oh yeah. I got toys. Tell me if these are loud enough. That's my question. Good Lord. That reminds me, I need to buy some Vuvuzelas for next Halloween.
I've got balls of steel.
Why, thank you. Seriously, this page has got like 200 different buttons. 200 different pages of buttons, and each page has about, I'm looking at, good Lord, it's got to be at least 30 buttons here. Let's see, it's more than 10. Some of these are kind of weak. I don't know if they're loud enough to be heard on the channel. That's my question. I really hope I have somebody watching the show, because it would suck otherwise. Well, the show sucks anyway, but yeah. Okay. Yo, managers of the Chef Boyardee franchise, I'm not kidding you here. You're on my list. Look, because look, my dinner, aka breakfast, was a couple cans of Chef Boyardee spaghetti. And look, after I've eaten all the noodles I can get out with a fork, I've eaten all the noodles I can get. I've eaten all the meatballs, and what a surprise! There actually were some in there. But there is enough marinara. There is enough marinara in here from like one can. There's enough leftover marinara to make another bowl of pasta, and I mean a family-sized bowl of pasta. Because you're selling canned spaghetti, but it might as well be soup. You should be ashamed of yourselves. I know this is the reason for the rest of the audience, like Chef Boyardee is ever going to be listening to my program, but all the rest of you. That's the reason that if I ever get, that's the reason whenever I whenever I lose my mind and buy Chef Boyardee, I only get the ravioli. I only get the ravioli. And I only get the mini ravioli. See, because I'm not thinking scientifically here. Because you see, okay, with ravioli, and especially the mini ravioli, with the ravioli, they don't use nearly as much sauce. Okay, there's enough in there that you have to do some serious mopping up with some chunks of bread afterward. That's the sad thing. You just ate pasta and now you're eating bread on top of the pasta. Gee, I wonder why I'm so fat. But the thing is, they use the ravioli is the one that uses the least sauce, and it has a guaranteed amount of meat in there because with the ravioli, they're filled with meat, so they can't get away with oops, we didn't put a couple of meatballs in that series of cans. They can't pull that on you. You can pop open a can, there's going to be meat in there. It's hiding inside the pasta, but it's there. I'm assuming it's meat. It's made from beef, pork, and chicken byproducts. Which sounds like a really horrible accident at Farmer McGregor's farm with a wood chipper. But and when you get to small, the reason for the small ravioli is because there's more. The small raviolis take up more space inside the can. You see, there's less gaps to fill up with sauce. That's my thinking anyway. It works for me. Whatever. I have to watch eating and stuff because if I eat it before, oh man. Between heartburn, acid reflux, if I eat anything in particular late hour, it comes back up. I can't lie down and I'm not going to be able to lie down and sleep without risking tasting my breakfast twice. You know what I'm saying? And between that, and the gut rumbles and shall we say spastic bowels that result from eating too much of this stuff. Yes, there'll be a stretch. This is why Chef Boyardee is in the survival food category for me. It stays on the shelf forever, and while it doesn't make me a happy camper to eat it, it tastes fairly okay. At least when you get the ravioli. The ravioli, is more substance, but I can sort of survive the gastronomic after effects. But it's really not pleasant. So, it goes up on the shelf and it stays there until I've, eaten all the good food. And then for the middle of the day, middle of the night, and I'll be sitting there. Well, yeah, there we go. I'm a horrible person, I know it, and they've given me free toys to play with. You're doomed. You said it, R2. Can you hear that on there? That's my next question. Can you hear those sound effects? Can you hear the sound effect? Can you hear me? Yes, you should be able to hear me. But let's turn the header off so we can. I feel like I accomplished something today. All I did was I collated my files. You see, I had managed between my CD Well, basically, I had the information from my website, all the comics and the archives, scattered over 3 different files. Making mistakes, duplicating stuff, and I just had to sit down and I had to go through them all and make sure, and some of them had files and some of them didn't have files. Basically, I had to shuffle them all together like a big deck of cards into one big file, and then make sure nothing got deleted. So I've got my I've got my archival folder all assembled, so I feel better about myself now. I actually accomplished something that was on my to-do list for weeks, months, and more. The file's labeled 2016. I've still got to get some DVDs and burn them. I've got DVDs, but what I do is I found it's when I try and burn them, I've got external DVD CD burner player thingies, 2 of them. But when I try and use them, and it's God's own guess as to whether the DVD is actually going to get burned. I don't know. I think it's a software shortcoming or something. So for the last, what I did for the Girls of Summer DVD is that I sent it off to a company. I found a company that burns them fairly cheap, and I had them burn a stack for me. You have to get a minimum order, but it was just I got all the DVDs sent out, and I got a few spares. I think enough time has passed. I'm going to be putting the Girls of Summer, the Girls of Summer DVD. I'm just folding them into the pinup folder on the regular archival DVD. I owe a great number of people DVDs, and I've got to just burn those too. So I just got to run one copy. I've just got to do my thing, Should have a little money, get a little money, take a little money aside this month, at the end of this month, and zing the DVD over. I can, the company I found, they'll accept the files over the internet. I don't have to send them a hard copy like I had to with the last ones, and let them run off a bunch of copies, and then when they get back, mail them out to everybody. Look, I know there are 2 of you out there. I see a little icon here that says 2 people watching. 2 people watching. Please say something. Don't just click on my thing and just leave me on the back. How would you feel if you were trying to hold a conversation with somebody and they treated you like background noise? Divorces have happened over that. Just yes, dear. Yes, honey. Whatever. All right, Mr. Highland. Tell me, does this sound come through loud?
Burn.
How about this one? Is that fairly loud or fairly quiet? I want to know. It's not easy to volume control these things.
What are you doing in my swamp?
That's a good question.
Shame.
Well. Ah. Never leave me alone. I'll find toys all over. This is myinstance.com. myinstants.com. It's just a page with buttons all over it. And you press the buttons and it makes noises. Yay. It's my version of a Foley board. And that brings up the next question. Is my voice too soft or loud? Compared to the music in the background, is my voice too soft or too loud? I got my mic turned all the way up, so there ain't much else I can do for it. Alright, now... Yay. Why am I doing it this at 8 in the morning? You're probably asking yourself. Because I was, I slept all day yesterday. Again. Which was quite a feat, as you can only go through one day at a time. But I slept, and I woke up, and it was like 10:30 at night. It's like, ah, crap. So I went online, I did a few things, collated those files, played some World of Warcraft. I have a level 100 shaman now. Yay! For those of you playing World of Warcraft, when you get to level 100, and you start on the Legion content, when you get to level 100, well, about 98 to 100, it seems kind of funky about that as to... But anyway, one of the first things you do is you're approached by an NPC who gives you a pass to your order hall. You know, each class in the game, like hunter, fighter, a mage, shaman, and so on and so forth, each of them has an order hall. For their class to go to, where you can get more, where you can get more different gear and put up trophies. And it's Garrison 2.0, but actually done a little bit better, because for one thing, each of the classes has a different order hall. The hunters, I like the hunters best because it was the first one I got, I guess. But the Hunters is a hunting lodge up on a mountaintop. And it's really cool. I like it because it's cool, and it's cool because I like it. So there. And the mountains, in the mountain it's is really cool too. You walk down a path and start hunting bears, It's like it's a hunter's dream come true, You go inside and there are like dead animals all over the walls. Seriously, it's really cool. And the Paladins, they have it's almost a cathedral kind of setup. And it is underground. It is in a secret... it's a cathedral in a secret chamber under the Blighted Lands. There's an old abandoned church out in the middle of the Blighted Lands, and because the undead have taken over that whole area, and under this little forgotten church is the order hall for the Paladins. And it's all very Greco-Roman Catholic, I guess you call it. Right down to big, enormous chapel with pews and a pulpit and everything else. But and the let me think. The demon hunters, they have a one of the Legion demon ships that they captured and converted to their use. The druids have this glen. You know, it's all fruity, you know, woodsy, and you know, it has deer all over the place, and butterflies, and treants standing guard, and flowers and trees and vines, and it's, you know, all fruity and granola crunchy. Then I finally leveled up my, you know, I finally leveled up my shaman. Now, the difference between a druid and a shaman in World of Warcraft, the druids are about, you know, oneness with nature. But you could say the shaman are more about oneness with natural disasters. The druids, you know, they're plants and animals. The shaman are like volcanoes, earthquakes, lightning. You get the picture. Well, anyway, the shaman, their order hall, it's not a hall. It's not. There's this one region in the middle of the ocean in World of Warcraft, right in the middle of the ocean. It's called the Maelstrom, where there's this gigantic, I mean, swallows continents-sized whirlpool. And there are great big huge craggy rock outcroppings, you know, jutting out of the ocean around a rim of this titanic whirlpool into the underworld. And on one of those craggy peaks, that's our hall, the Shaman's Hall. Except it's just you know, it's like a big scoop a chunk has been taken out of the top of the, and we got no walls. We got no roof either. We got no walls. And there's a hurricane blowing. Basically, we're parked next to the world's biggest permanent hurricane. And I keep thinking of that one Laverne and Shirley episode where they got conned into going to a near Mexican resort. And the place was an absolute pit. They come in, they look in their room, they got the room. The room is nothing. There are huge holes where the walls should be. You know, just there's and Laverne, you know, her running line through the whole episode. We got no walls. Then a hurricane hits, and Shirley's running on. We gotta take cover. We gotta take cover. And Laverne grabs her. We got no walls. Well, yeah, we got a floor. We got, you know, bare rock. Basically, it's a lot closer to nature than the druids are. Let's put it that way. Oh man. Let's see. I do not want to know what the warlocks order hall is, because, you know, the warlocks are the ones that just don't want to know. Nope, not interested. And of course, I have no idea what it looks like for the horde players. Everything they got is probably radically different. Well, let me think. I was on a trail of something. I was thinking of something. I had a fan write me, and they tell me they was nice of them. They had some staples. They said, just food staples type stuff that's being shipped to me, a box of stuff. Just general odds and ends. I have no idea what that might mean, but hey, it's food. Yay! It's supposed to arrive Tuesday, so that's nice. I want to say thank you, but I don't want to. I'm not sure about saying their name. That's the thing of it, the courtesy traditions. It used to be, if somebody made you a donation or gave you a gift or something, you would say, "Oh, I got this lovely gift from so and so. Thank you so much. This felt very nice." And you'd tell everybody, and that was cool. And but you go online, and people are all sorts of funky and weird about their privacy. And some people like to be recognized as a donor. Others don't want their name put up as a donor because first of all they don't like the attention, and second of all they don't like other people approaching them for donations either. So it gets very complicated. As I've gotten older, it's gotten so much more complicated. It's gotten so much more complicated. To give gifts and receive gifts and donations and anything anymore. Like when they hand you that birthday card at work and you're supposed to sign it, or a get well card and you're supposed to, I don't even know this person. Who is this? Who are they? Do they know me? Am I thinking of somebody? Am I thinking of them? Is it the redhead? It's the redhead, right? No, it's not the redhead? No, it's not the redhead. I have no idea who this is for. I'll sign it anyway because I don't want to look like a Scrooge. I don't want to look like a tool. I sign it for somebody who doesn't know me, so I'm being a tool anyway. But, yeah. The sad thing about Legion, the one thing about Legion that was really... Legion, the expansion that, the second most recent expansion for World of Warcraft. Right now they're in Warlords of Draenor. No, right now they're on Battle for Azeroth. Previous to that was Legion. Now in Legion, they had some cool stuff. The idea was that there were these. First of all, there were these legendary artifacts you were supposed to find to help battle the Legion. Second of all, there were these legendary weapons that you were supposed to fight to arm yourself with. To kick Legion butt, and each order, each class had 3 different weapons, and you could hunt for all 3. 3 or 4 different weapons. The hunters actually had 4, if I remember, or the druids did. But anyway, you found those weapons too. But the thing of it is, at the end of Legion, these were cool weapons. You didn't have to. Once you had one of these legendary weapons, you didn't have to you didn't have to buy any new stuff anymore for these weapons. Because instead, what you did is that you earned special points to level the weapon up and make it more powerful and give it more abilities, and so on and so forth. And some of them, these were really cool. These were really cool weapons. It was a really cool system, and it saved you a lot of the nonsense of running around hoping that somebody would drop a weapon after you whacked them on the head that would be more useful than the one you were holding. But anyway, it was a really cool system. I really liked it, and but the thing of it is, at the end of Legion, the villain, this giant demon, stabs a giant sword into the planet. And in order to keep it from poisoning the planet to death, the Arcmage category. He gathers all the weapons, all your weapons up, all the legendary weapons up, and drains them to neutralize the evil in this giant sword. And so you've got the weapon, but now all its powers are gone, all its abilities are gone, and you know, you're back to square one. You know, you've got to start hunting down new weapons again. And some of them are really cool. The mage weapon, one of the mage weapons, the Arcane Mage staff, in particular, was intelligent and would talk. And it would give you advice in the middle of battle. You're running low on mana. I see you're using invisibility. You know, that kind of thing. And it would make little comments about... it would make little comments about the lore of the game. And it was really cool. And now it's sitting in my character vault, gathering dust. Because I can't level it up anymore. Because they nullified that for the switch over to and any of my new characters that get one of these legendary weapons, they start out with the weapon already, it's stuck. You can't level it anymore. Like, you jerks. I liked those cool weapons. I've still got to get new weapons for my Paladin. He's been running around at like a level 100 and some odd with a level 100 weapon. It's kind of awkward. And I'm sure this is all thrilling all you non-dungeon, all you non-World of Warcraft players to death. Video game politics.
It's over 9,000!
Oh yeah. That's how it felt when you got some of these weapons, man.
It's over 9,000!
I mean, my shaman had to go through this whole ritual where she had to pass various combat trials, and finally she gets to the center thing, and she has to. The last trial is she has to put the weapon on, and if it kills her, she doesn't get it. She's standing there with lightning all over the place, and then the demons attack. So, you went through some serious crap to get these things, and now they're just like every other weapon you've had since level 1. Something to stick up on the shelf. Or sell, but you can't sell them and you can't give them away. It's sad. Anyway. Yeah, I'm online now. Like I said, sleep cycle. It's screwed up. So I figured I might as well go online while I'm still awake. Okay, I'm trying to think. And nothing's happening. I'd like to have wild weasel. I'd like to have wild weasel here. I'd like to be able to speak English again. I'd like to have wired weasel here when I'm working on his particular commissions. Those, that way I can, that way it's not, email it and wait for him to respond. Does this look okay? Oh, I don't know. It needs to change this. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I'm also trying to digest some. Let's put it this way: it's running right through me. I'm trying to convince myself I've been nourished by eating this Shift Boyardee. Oh, and I'd like to send a big thank you to, I believe it was, yes, it was Wild. He ordered a pizza. He bought me a pizza. It was a Supreme Pizza from Papa John's. They got this thing now where you can order a pizza and gift it to somebody else. I'm like, it was yummy, and I ate it all, and I drank all the soda. I was a blood, I was on a blood sugar high. But let's see. Oh well. Okay. Now, let's talk game politics. Most people aren't into gamer politics for obvious reasons. Most people aren't gamers. I'm not. You couldn't really call me a gamer. I play World of Warcraft, and that's pretty much it. And I'm not one of these maniacs. You know what I'm saying? I'd have 2 games if WildStar hadn't crapped out on me. Yeah, but okay, and man, if I can't imagine being able to afford, I can't imagine having that much, expendable, disposable income. I can't imagine having that much disposable income where you buy 2 or 3 game, platform games. You got a Nintendo, you've got a Xbox, you got a this, you got a that, and you've got games for all of them. Just masses and masses of games. Okay, I will admit this. I have got a DVD player and a VHS player that I have not used in probably a couple of years. I generally play, if I do get the yen to watch an old video, I'll play it on my computer because I got the DVD thing. And I have got 2 pretty fairly good sized boxes full of DVDs, and I think I got a few VHS tapes floating around here somewhere, but I think it's almost all DVDs. And you look at that and you go, well, you got plenty of disposable income, or you used to. Not really. Most of the DVDs I have are like $5. I can't imagine. I'm looking at these games, and I know for a fact that these games are like $25, $30, $60, and they've got shelves of them. And I'm looking at that and I'm going, there's your college fund. What the heck? That's a car sitting up there. That's a house. That's down payment on on just about anything you care to name. And I really can't imagine that anybody plays all those games all that frequently. And you sort of feel bad for it. I also feel bad for this. I got a bookshelf. 1, 2, 3, 4 shelves full of books. Guess how often I read any of them? Every last one of the books on my shelf I've read at least once. I'll say that much. I think I've got maybe 2 books that I haven't read all the way through because they just lost my interest. They were just really boring and really not much good for what I spent for them. And but I got stacks of books up there, and I technically got 8 shelves of books because they're double stacked, a row in front and a row in back. But every one of them, just about every one of them. Well, there's one there. I can see it right here. It's a children's book, The Mysterious Benedict Society and the Prisoner's Dilemma. It's apparently the last book in a series. I picked it up for $1. I read some of it, and then I skipped ahead, read the last chapter, and then put it down, and never picked it back up. I got a book by Sean Hannity. I've got a book by Ann Coulter. I've got a book by Rush Limbaugh. I've got a book by I've got a couple of Pratchett books. I've got all 7 of the Harry Potter series. The first 4 are paperback, though. I was in a desperate pinch way back when, and I believe I pawned the books that I had. That was back when there were only 4 of them. Well, I'm not sure which ones I do have, actually. But I know I have them all. Which ones are paperback. And, got a couple of 4 Dummies books. That'd be a gift to have. Complete, you know, I've read the 4 Dummies books, and I've read the Complete Idiot's Guide books. And I gotta say, the Complete Idiot's Guide books are better. Just a little bit. Of course, I could be biased. I don't know. But, I think the reason I like the Complete Idiot's Guide is because they have more cartoons in them. Got a book by Cal Thomas. He's another conservative spokesperson you probably never heard of. My very first book by Brian Jacques. My very first book by Brian Jacques is up there. Is Salamandastron. I saw it had a badger in armor on the cover. I said, "Ooh." I was deep in the furry phase at that time. I'm still a furry freak. I still love furry stuff. I just don't hang out with the culture, so to speak, anymore. I don't know why I hung out with them as long as I did. Probably because I was lonely, that's why. Because like I've said it before, I mean, I've told you before, these guys down in, there are these guys. Oh, that puppet show, the Fun Day Puppet Show, they went off the air about a year ago. A few months ago, they declared they were closing up shop, and I was like, oh. But they've been on there since before 2000. And they had been running that show every Sunday all those years, 4 hours a Sunday, 4 hours a night, 7 to 11, and not counting the specials they did. And they decided to close up shop, which was sad. But anyway, the guy, he's one of the guys there, he goes by the suit, his moniker was Mutt. His puppet was one of these big folk menace sheepdogs, and he was sort of the MC of the whole show. And he was described. They did one episode. It was called the Drunk Show, where they took shots of peppermint schnapps. Peppermint schnapps. One shot of peppermint schnapps every half hour. They opened up with one shot and then they went from there. And he got rather garrulous after about the second hour. And he was talking about how he ran into the furry fandom. You see, he was a artist for Disney. Very interesting fellow. He worked for Disney. He worked in the parks. He worked as one of the animators. A very talented artist, very skilled artist. And one day he was on the internet. He was looking around, and he said he typed in. He was trying to look for other artists like himself. He typed in, let me type in anthropomorphics, and boom, entire web rings, huge forums of people that he never knew existed. He said that he went online and he typed in, and he went furry, and he typed in furry, and boom, and he said he was on there. He was on there all day and all night on the internet, just browsing websites. And then he called in sick the next morning and stayed on the web for another day. And he said it was like, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. He said, I have used this description ever since. He said, I was like Tarzan seeing other human beings for the first time. And I heard him say that, and I was like, you got it. That's the word for it. And that was my descent into the that, you know, that was I was for me. I didn't even have a computer. I went to the library one day and I was looking around. I forget where I had found it out, but I had seen. This was about the time that Sonic 2 came out. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 came out, and I was wondering, why does the fox have two tails? And I looked around. I forget where I found it out. I believe I found it out online. Why does Tails have to... And it brought up this thing and said, Kitsune. I said, Kitsune. And I tried looking around the library for a book on Japanese folklore. Nothing. Nothing at all. Literally nothing. Never so ashamed of my community library as I was then. And I go on there, I'll go on the internet and I'll find out. I forget where exactly I found out what a kitsune was, and I forget where I found out what Tails was. But anyway, I go on there, I type in kitsune, and the next thing I know, I find this website of a furry fan who's really big in kitsune, and he's on part of a web ring. Back then, you know, they used to daisy chain websites together into a big ring, and you'd click on the little icon and just browse the webs that way. They don't do that anymore. It's a crying shame. Would have made life a lot simpler if they'd kept it. But anyway, and I'm like on the fur ring, and I'm click, 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 and like the man said, I felt like Tarzan seeing other human beings for the first time. I found the fur ring. I found the Squeaky Clean Furry Archive. It was called, that's what it was called back then. It became YERF, and then it faded away. Time goes by, but anyway, I found a furry community, and this was what inspired me to get a home computer and an internet connection. My dad had an old second-hand computer he gave me, and I managed to get the internet hooked up, and and away I went. And that was how Nip and Tuck ended up online. I'd been drawing Nip and Tuck decades before that. My first Nip and Tuck, the first drawings I made of Nip and Tuck were when I was like 11 years old. Seriously. And I got older, and every now and they'd make a resurgence every now and then. I even managed to get them to run in a little local newspaper, a little weekly paper. They didn't pay me nothing for it, but it was in the paper. Tra-la. And son of a gun, got online, changed my world, And of course, this is the thing. When you get into a fandom, especially one that's out on the edges, well, let me put it this way: you start out going, "Wow, my people." I have, my people. You go like, wow, these people are like me. And then you get to know some of them, and after a while you're starting to go, oh no, am I like these people? It's the fan, I'm tempted to attribute it. A lot of the freakish stuff to, they're freaky because they're furry, or they're furry because they're freaky. And then over the years, I've looked at other fandoms, and they all messed up. There are freaks in all of them. But I gotta tell you, man, the drama. I cannot begin to describe to you the drama that would go down in furry communities, man. And I mean, the instant the furry fandom popped up, every deviant freak on the planet seemed to think that we were a free-for-all buffet for them. I mean, people who are, let's say, I don't even want to describe some of the kinds of people that were hanging out there. And, of course, sanity restored eventually, but still, some of the things, But, and despite the drama, despite the hostility, despite the freaks, I hung out there. I hung out there way too long, frankly. Shouldn't have been there. It's just so lonely, frankly. There just wasn't, it was very hard to find a place for yourself. There is a community of Christians who are furry fans. They've got their own page on Facebook, but if you start a fandom, the worst people in the world will try and take it over almost immediately. They will plant a flag in it and then throw you out. And there, Oh yeah. Let me put it this way. Feminists, social justice warriors were the least of it. Gay activist, just gay. Well, what it was is that basically there was exactly one convention for a long stretch early in the beginning, and it got taken over by a complete sex freak, who basically, his big promotional push, what he did is he offered, he did a big promotional push on all the gay sites he could find on the internet. All the real freaky, freaky deaky sex sites too. And the next thing you know, the flagship convention of the furry community. Suddenly, everybody looked up, and there were people in bondage gear walking up and down the halls. And people who were advocating polyamory. That's why you'll stick it in anything. Human, animal, vegetable, mineral, doesn't matter. No lie. Doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter the gender, doesn't matter the species. Man, it was bad. It was awful. That's I just finally got sick of it and bailed out. Because those of us who had an inkling of sanity tried to band together, couldn't get anything rolling. Eventually, the freaks managed to wear out their welcome and got thrown out. But the taint remained. I've generally stayed away from the furry community. No, they've proven what they'll tolerate anything except standards. Yeah. You don't want if you're on the ground floor and something that looks like it's going to go big, you gotta have an ironclad grip. That's the world. That's the world the way it is. I mean, dang, you want to see nasty? Go to an anime convention. Woo, man. Go to some of these anime forums. My goodness. They're exhibitionists. They're like spiritual exhibitionists. They find something and they think it's an excuse to come running in and let their unmentionables flop out on the dining room table, you know? Rip open their rubber raincoat and let it all hang out. And then mock, deride, and then castigate you for getting upset about it. One of the things that was working against the furry fandom. You look at. Well, that's not fair either. I'm trying to say that they didn't. The furry fandom really doesn't have a single focus. Like you have Star Wars fans, they have Star Wars. Star Trek fans, they have Star Trek, and Lord of the Rings fans, they have Lord of the Rings. But then you got this general overlap. You got just general science fiction fans. You got general fantasy fans. You got general sci-fi and fantasy fans, and you got animation fans. You got anime fans. You got this fan. You got that fan. You got, and it's all very generalized. But they all seem to the fandoms, no matter all fandoms, no matter how generalized or specific, all seem to have the same general problems, the same general issues. Largely speaking, they become an attractant for people who have poor social skills and worse, people who are just outright incapable of personal, moral, or ethical restraint. Or even the common sense God gave a turnip. And it's also the nerd inclusiveness problem. Most of the people who are fans grew up, they were outcast in school. And so they've come away with certain preconceptions. One of them is the fallacy that because excluding anybody from anything is bad. Because everybody excluded me from this, that, and the other, and made me feel so bad. I would be a bad person to exclude anybody from anything for any reason. And so they feel, they stand there at the door. They're supposed to be deciding who does and who doesn't come into the convention, and they haven't got the guts to say no to a complete freak who's coming through the front door. Because they'll cry and they'll scream and they'll throw a tantrum and they'll denounce them in the press, and well, you get the whole idea. And that's for all of them. That goes for any fandom. Second of all, you got a lot of people that run these conventions and forums and things like that. I don't understand why all our fans are perverts and freaks, and meanwhile they've got a porn section that's half the size again of the entire convention floor. They got turds all over the floor and they can't figure out where the flies are coming from. It's hard to find anything good that lasts. Nothing gold can stay. You find a good thing, enjoy it while it lasts. Try and make it last as long as you can. but don't expect eternity out of it. Case in point. Now, where was I going with this? Oh, yes. In other political game news, okay, talking about games. You've heard about the Red Dead Redemption controversy, right? Controversy. That makes it sound like, you know, dramatic, serious, and important. Look, you know, Watergate was a controversy. Iran-Contra was a controversy. Whitewater was a controversy. You know, that was a conflict. You know, that was something to be talking about. You know, the political agendas, that's a controversy. You know, people worrying about, you know, things that need to be voted on or decided on or legislated on, those are controversies. Stuff that's going on in a video game, that's a petty squabble. Okay, but what it is, Red Dead Redemption 2 came out. It's an open world game, which means you can basically go wherever you want and do whatever you want. You can be a good guy or a bad guy. And one of the things you can do in there is a feminist, or rather, it's set in the Wild West, the 1890s. And there is a feminist, there is a suffragette. And this guy filmed himself. He did a recording of it, of the gameplay, and this feminist, this suffragette is spouting feminist rhetoric from the 21st century. You know what I'm saying? A little outdated, but she's a very annoying character. Among her lines is, if women were in charge, we would have no war, no poverty, no ignorance, and men need women to take care, to look after them and to watch over them, and just irritating stuff. Once we get a female president, well, etc., 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 and so the guy played it. He punched her out. Then he tied her, then he lassoed her, dragged her out of town behind his horse, and fed her to a crocodile. When the crocodile didn't eat her, he kicked her in the head a few times and dragged her over to the railroad tracks and left her for the train to run over. You can find this on YouTube. Look up Red Dead Redemption annoying feminist. Death, and oh my, you can imagine the uproar that went up. I got to admit, I'll say this much: the game is graphically violent. I was like, I thought this was going to be slapstick, but man, he starts stomping her. I'm like, this is just a shade too far. Of course, I'm standing there laughing my butt off while he's dragging her down the street on a rope. So what does that say about me? But the usual suspects, the feminists and the feminist apologists and the gender neutered white knights are out there. Oh, this is so disrespectful of women, and this is. How could Red Dead Redemption, how could the game designers be so callous as to let this, it's an open sandbox game, well, they excluded the children, you can't hurt the children in the game, you can, so basically you're saying you want the feminists to be put in the same category as the children. Every time I think of a feminist responding, I keep picturing Miss Piggy, the way she scrunches up her nose when she gets angry, you know. But yeah, it's a graphically violent game, and you can do some pretty horrible things in it. But that's because it's an open sandbox game. You can do pretty awful things. That's the idea behind open sandbox. Where? Okay, you know, I'm talking in circles here, but let's put it this way: where were all these people when The Sims came out? Where were all these people when The Sims came out? Think about it. In The Sims 2, Sim 3, Sim 4, Sim 5, you could do absolutely horrible things to those poor little people in that game. Drop them in a swimming pool, then take away the ladder so they couldn't climb out and they drowned. Lock them in a house with no food, watch them starve. Take out all the toilets and watch them wander around the house in agony until they finally wet themselves and left a puddle on the floor. I mean, just absolutely sadistic things you could do to these characters. And people did it all the time, and they laughed their butts off about it. There are hundreds of videos of them, of people doing just absolutely sadistic things to their Sims characters. And I'm like, where were all these moral guardians, you know, who are protesting an outrage of a pixelized 1899 suffragette? Where were these people protesting violence in games when that came out? You know, they're all busy, you know, waving signs around Doom and Quake. You know, oh, this game promotes violence. You know, The Sims. It's The Sims. The most, you know, least violence motivated game you could possibly have. Short of a digital goldfish bowl. And you know, people were still being, you know, just vicious sadists for, you know, shits and giggles. Maybe it hasn't got anything to do with the game. And you think feminists would start to pick up a little hint that they're pushing the line just a little bit, you know? You know, if you've spent all day being a feminist bitch at your quote-unquote boyfriend or your best guy friend, you know, the one you keep in the friend zone all the time, you know, if you've been an absolute feminist bitch to some guy, and he goes off and sits down and plays a game where he feeds a suffragette to a crocodile, you know, maybe you could pick up the hint that you're just sort of getting on his nerves now. That you're maybe taking it just a little too far with all your feminist flappery. And you know, maybe this is a, we're not, you know, it's not that they're being promoting it, but it's just that the average person is getting towards the breaking point. Oh my, pardon me, but man, just really. You know, if you're an absolute heinous bitch, and you discover that your quiet, peaceful coworker has a dartboard with your face on it, take the hint. Now, where were these people with The Sims? Where were these people with? It's an interesting thing about that game, Red Dead Redemption. You know, these people either trying to figure out all the horrible things they could do. You know, this was the thing. You know, they punched out a suffragette, and in the next video, They did the guy. There's actual. You can actually sneak up on a clan conclave out in the woods in one area of this game, and they all sat down. After they punched this woman out and fed her to a crocodile, or tried to. The crocodile just I don't know. It's just sort of flounced around her and swam off. I guess it was supposed to be eating her, but but it didn't. But anyway, he's after they had fed this woman to the crocodile, they all sat around going, "I wonder what would happen." They found out about the clansmen, and there were black NPC characters walking around in this game, and you could see where this was going. The guy, the guy lassoed one of the black guys, dragged him into the woods, and threw him down at the feet of the clansmen just to see what would happen, just to see what the game would do. The clansmen all stared at him like gomers. They didn't even notice the black guy. They stared at the player like a bunch of gomers, and then they managed to set themselves on fire. And that's sort of a karmic beauty to it. But apparently they didn't program these clansmen to actually be racist. It would have been so simple too. Program the NPC to attack any character with a dark skin color, and away you go. But no, they didn't. And apparently these clansmen were just poorly programmed props, because that's all they were supposed to do. In one of the missions, you were supposed to break them up by dropping a bomb in the middle of them. A little Molotov cocktail, boom. Which I'm sure was very gratifying to whoever programmed it, but well, go figure. Go figure. It's still hilarious. A bunch of clansmen standing around talking about how they're the master race, and then they set themselves on fire when confronted with an actual black man. Freaky. Okay, Highlands going out, going away. Go bye-bye. See you later. What can you say? But again, all these games. I mean, like, look, I can't say that I care too much for some of the violence that goes on in these games either myself. But they're complaining about, if you ask me, they're complaining about the right thing, but for all the wrong reasons. They're not complaining about this game because it's aimlessly violent, or that the violence is extremely graphic and disturbing. No, they're complaining because the wrong people are being targeted for violence in the game. They're not white enough or male enough. If they were targeting only females and only black people, I'd be upset about that too. Pooey. Oh, bug in my water. Ugh. That's nasty. Yep. Little gnat landed in my cup of water. But, well, think about it. Think about it, really. They're not getting mad at it for. They're not getting mad at the gamers for making game designers for making these games so gruesome, or because they made them so immoral. They're mad because the wrong people in the game can be targeted. They made the game open sandbox, which means, that, all the NPCs are more or less fair game, except for the children. The children are the only ones they accepted from that. That would have been a bit too much, I guess. I don't know. Just how long would it be before? Just if they removed all restraints, how long would it be before there were players on YouTube showing how they, showing in whatever game series that they how they captured all the village children, stacked them up like Legos, and then detonated them with dynamite. How long would that be? But let's be honest. Would people, I'm sure that there are these sicko freaks, psychopath murderers out there that would really love the heck out of a game like that. But 99.9999999% of the people that do these outrageous things on these games would never dream of raising a hand to their fellow man, especially in that fashion. You get the most hardcore GTA Grand Theft Auto player. Give him a tire iron and tell him to go steal a car. He'd probably faint. From the horror of what he was expected to do. We're losing touch on, I think as a society, one of our failings is that we do not strive as hard as we should to draw a solid line between what is real and what is make-believe. You got these people who won't give a toy gun to a child. Not a cap pistol, not a Nerf dart gun, nothing. Because their heart will teach them violence. No, it won't. Violence teaches a child violence. Apathy towards cruelty teaches a child violence. Playing with a cap gun just teaches them that you go bang, bang, you're dead. No, you're not. Yes, you are. The purpose of play is an outlet for the anxieties of childhood. And it's also how the child learns about the world around them. They act out what they see. And they learn, most importantly, how to separate play aggression from real violence. But we live in a society where we don't do that. We're a society that has largely abandoned the Christian values that founded it. And as a consequence, we've lost a certain amount of moral objectivity, which has gotten worse as time has gone by. What do I mean by moral objectivity? Well, think about it this way: is it we've got people who treat we've got women online as social justice warriors. They act as if any approach by a man is. They talk about virtual rape. They talk about all these other different versions of rape that are everything except actual rape. But they call it rape. This man whistled at me. I feel like I've been raped. This was thought rape. This was insane stuff like that. They are children in adult bodies who have not learned to distinguish between actual physical real harm to themselves and imagination. This is I don't know, remember they used to separate reality from imagination as a regular basis on children's shows and such. But over the years, more and more, the line got a little blurred there. They don't do that anymore. They're not taught that there is a difference between make-believe and real. Sticks and stones they're not taught that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. Threats of violence are not the same thing. Even threats of violence are not the same thing as actual violence. And why would you go so far as to say that? Because you give somebody enough incentive, they will find anything to be a quote-unquote threat of violence. He looked at me funny. It was a threat of violence! Which, according to our modern culture, is just the same as real violence. Spray him with mace! He said something lewd to me. It was virtual rape! You know, hit him with a taser! Meanwhile, we got people running around. And somehow that doesn't count as real violence. He's having a blast.
Silence! I kill you! Silence! I kill you!
What are you gonna do? You know, I mean, you spend the first 5-10 years, you spend the first 5 years of a child's life convincing him that the boogeyman isn't real and that he isn't going to come out from under the bed and get him. Once he gets out into the public school arena, where our screwed up society gets its meat hooks into him, they spend the next 12 to 16 years teaching him the exact opposite. That feelings are more important than reality. That if you think somebody did something to you, whether anything actually happened or not, you have grounds to accuse them of it.
I need healing.
Don't we all?
I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words.
No.
I wish I had a button with a goofy scream. That would be even better. Okay, now Highland's left, so who's left? That leaves... Who does that leave? Hello, is anybody else out there? Wait a minute. It is... Oh my, it's Sunday. Well, no wonder nobody's here. Dang. I'm sorry. Y'all are probably getting ready to go to church. Well, fudge. I didn't know what else to do with myself today. Tell you what, we try this again tomorrow. This went well. This went fairly well. Early in the morning. So, I don't know. I guess, 5 in the afternoon is the one I picked because it's the one where we got the most people's parking in, A grand total of like 9 people. I think we got I think the height was like 14. It was a bad rush that year. I'm gonna go offline. I'm gonna stop the feed now. Since, well, really, you're either at work or you're asleep or you're at church. It's a different world than when I grew up. But we'll try this again tomorrow morning. Hopefully, I'll do something creative, productive, and entertaining, or at least luridly fascinating. We'll talk about stuff. We'll do stuff. I'll beg for money. You'll laugh. We'll laugh. It was good times. Me personally, I think I'm gonna go offline and stare at my PayPal bucket. Hope maybe I'm gonna go shuffle through my online everythings, see if maybe I can find a couple extra bucks. I've got $4 in one bank account, $1 in my PayPal, and I've got like about $4 or $5 in change here in this little cup in front of me. Now, if I could get that all in one place, oh well. I've said this before. This is I beg for food, beg for money. I want to say this. Thank you all. Thank you for your donations and pledges and everything. Thank you, especially for the pizza donation. That was nice. That was very, very good. I was very hungry, and I'm sorry to be such a whiner. I apologize for being such a whiner. Darn it. Look. I may be sort of hitting the low end of the barrel here. I'm not exactly, well, I wouldn't say I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel. I'm more like in the lower fourth. You know what I mean. And things are really sparse, and but I've got some beans and rice and some soup in cans. I'm not sure if the rice is still, it's pretty old rice. As that you buy rice for, beans and rice, stockpile for emergencies, and then when the emergency comes, it's been so long you're not sure if they're safe anymore. But my larder is not completely bare. There's still some little bit of sustenance in it. It's starting to a little anxiety-inducing. But there are people out there that haven't got what I've got. They haven't got half what I got. They haven't got a tenth what I got. They got nothing. They got nothing but an empty shelf, if they've even got a shelf. They're worse off than old Mother Hubbard. You know what I'm saying? They're way worse off. They couldn't even roast the dog on a stick. They don't even got a dog. Look, if you know somebody, if you can, if you know anybody, anybody in your neighborhood, if you see a homeless person in your neighborhood, do you know, if you know of somebody that's hard up, living in your street, or any one of a dozen different things, you know what I'm saying? There are needy people all around you all the time. Don't forget them. And if you get an opportunity, even if you can't make it a regular thing, even if you get an opportunity to do a little something for someone, do it, There's probably... That's the thing of it. Sometimes it's hard to find out. You can live your entire life next door to somebody and not know anything about them. Take a chance, I have some jam. I have some yummy, yummy jam. My mother, my parents, they have a garden. They don't have a backyard so much as they have a garden with a fence. And they, among other things, she grows raspberries. Son of a gun, And she made up a bunch of raspberry seedless, mind you, raspberry jam. And I have got a bunch of little jars of raspberry jam. It's tasty. I'm a little frustrated by the fact I haven't got any bread. I haven't got any crackers. I've got, I don't... No, I ate the last of the Cheerios dry. But, good jam. Wouldn't mind sharing it with somebody, I did share with you. The girl that does, that used to do my odd jobs, I basically forced a couple of jars on her for her and her grandma. Wonder if she liked it. Back when the Gulf War started out, I read up on it, and they were putting out notices on things that you could send to the troops. Just odd things, things you wouldn't think of. One of the things was like baby wipes, because they were out in the desert, and water's at a premium. They use those baby wipes to, to keep their faces clean, to clean up with, so that they weren't, constantly getting, grit sores and things like that. Things like rubber band. Weird thing was they silly string, of all things. Those spray cans of silly string. They were asking for those from home, and it turns out what they were doing is that they would spray silly string in a room, and this was how they would find tripwires, because the silly string would hang on the tripwires without setting them off. That's, it's amazing to think that Silly String saved lives. Silly String saved American lives on the field. And you can go and you can look at it. You can still look it up. There are troops still scattered all over the world. And doggone, I managed. I was living with my folks, and I managed to get together one box. I managed to get together a box of stuff, and sent it to one of these places that disperses them. They just send them to random troops, and they sent it out. But the first thing I did a presentation. The kids at my dad's church, and suggested, this is something the youth group could do. It's cheap, it's dirt cheap, but it's stuff they can't get their hands on for love or money, and it would make it would make the lives of these men on the battlefield so much better. Nobody went for it. They all stood around and, oh, that's a nice deal, yeah, and nobody went for it. I sent the box out, and then nobody followed up. Nobody tried. It was so sad, I still feel good because I sent that box out, and I don't, I inquired, and oh yeah, we got a message back. They said they appreciated it. I would have liked to have read the note, but they, but I'm still glad it went out, kind of thinking I ought to do that anyway, I've got so many odds and ends and junk that I could send out. I could probably put together a little odd box for, it'd be some unusual stuff, sugar-free Jello and packets of tea, and yeah, I've got a box of Lipton tea right here. I got little tea bags, tons of tiny little tea leaves and tiny tea. But this is Lipton. Shut up. Now, little tea bags. Got no sugar to put in the tea. I can't. I'm Southerner. I'm Southerner. It's got to be iced tea, and it's got to be sweet enough to stand the spoon up in. So, British people drinking unsweetened tea. I'm like, the hell's wrong with you? People drink, I know black coffee is a tradition. When did they decide? I don't know. Look, I cannot drink coffee. Unless I've, I can, but I won't drink coffee unless I've got like cream, tons of cream and sugar in it, and maybe some mocha. It reaches the point where, like, would you like to add some coffee to that cream and sugar and chocolate? But, yeah. I think I'll do that. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to look up, support the troops thing, and maybe send them a box. I'll have to get a postal box. The question is, how do I get them to pick it up from my front door? That's fudge. I have no idea how to get UPS or the United States Post Office to pick up a package at my front door. I'll have to call and ask. But I got lots of little survival. I could send them some of my mom's jam. I stored up some coffee. I've got a couple of cans of coffee, big cans. Because the reason I have canned coffee, even though I don't drink the stuff, well, very simply put, it's one of the things that if the economy crashes, one of the first things that's going to go if the economy goes is shipping. And if shipping goes, things like chocolate, coffee, tea, spices. Spices of every flavor. They're just going to be gone. They're going to be, you ain't going to have no luck getting them, whether you're out on the desert in Iraq or sitting in downtown New York. So I keep a bunch of coffee, sealed up in metal tins, the metal canned coffee, in case I have to trade for something. If we ever, if things hit the skids, it pays to have something you can barter. Does that sound like survivalist claptrap? Well, that's life. Well, the reason I'm thinking is I've been whiny. I've been whiny the past several days. Here I am, trying to beg people to, do a commission or something, so I have, a little money to order some dinner. And I look around, I think I just sort of balance myself out a little bit. Do something charitable, do something generous, do something for somebody else that needs it, And doing something for the troops always feels good. Well, I'm going to go ahead and clock out now. I figure it's about the hour that everybody is already in church or already off to work. So I'll see you all later. Probably tomorrow. We'll pick up from where I left off. No, seriously, I actually intend to do something serious and... Okay, I'll kiss my butt,
I like turtles.
Good for you.
I know Kung Fu.
Yeah. So, I'll see you all later. Y'all take care and good night. Well, morning, whatever.